everyone, and welcome back. This video we are focusing on the next of the Hermetic principles. This is the principle of cause and effect.
Yes, it's an easy one, supposedly. It's supposed to be an easy one. The principle of cause and effect states every cause has its effect, every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. That's the Hermetic principle. So, cause and effect. Okay, you need intention and a result. Okay, everything has an intention, everything has a result. Most people spend way too much time on the result and don't pay nearly enough time on the intention. There is this weird theory out there that as long as your intentions were good, the result and what happens with the result doesn't matter. And that's not true. Unintended consequences
yes.
happen with intent that doesn't go correctly. That's the problem. It carries karma. That's simple.
Mm.
Unintended consequences are what gets people to quit things, especially metaphysical things, because everybody wants the easy answer.
Right.
They want it to go quickly and easily. And people out there that give you the whole, as long as your intention's great, nothing bad will happen. And we all know that's not true. Most people that do horrible, horrible things started out with good intentions. And somewhere down the road, it just went way off the rails.
Yeah.
And just completely destroys everything. And that's the problem. We don't want that. You have to be able to see what's behind what you're doing, not just the first step. You need to see, well, what effect is that going to have?
Right.
Going down the line.
Now,
and that's the problem.
Now, is this also, because manifestation is huge right now.
Right.
Is that why intention alone is not sufficient enough for manifestation to work for most people?
Yeah. And it also depends on what you mean by work. Let's say you want to do something, easy. I'm hungry, I want to manifest an apple. Okay, so your intention is to manifest an apple. And that's what you do. And you put the energy in, and you put the energy out there, and you go, blah, I'm going to manifest an apple, and you get a magazine in the mail, and there's a picture of an apple. Not what you wanted. You visualized it. You visualized it two-dimensionally, and you got a two-dimensional representation of an apple on a piece of paper.
Okay.
You can't eat. I mean, you can eat the paper, but it's not going to taste like an apple.
Right.
You can get a wax apple. What kind of apple did you want? You get a green apple, you get a yellow apple, you can get a red apple, you can get a juicy red apple, you can get a Honeycrisp apple. What kind of apple are we talking about? And that's what I mean when I say you have to put the time into it. What exactly did you want? Did you want a wax apple? Because you're not going to eat that, And that's the problem. People don't really think about what it is that they want to manifest. So, putting the intention in is great. Understanding the result you want is great. Knowing the path to get there is even more important. And that's where most people lose it. They have an intention, they know the result that they want, but they have no idea how to get from point A to point D.
Okay.
That's the problem. How do you get there? What happens? Now, cause and effect states that, cause and effect is also, everything you do is going to have an opposite reaction to it. Anything that you do. You put energy out, you're going to get energy back. You put negative energy out, you're going to get negative energy back. Right?
Right.
Okay. However, we also know that opposites attract.
Right.
So you can put a ton of positive energy in and get some negative energy back. And usually that comes in the form of the pendulum swing that we talk about. Okay, you're putting all this energy out there, and it's swinging, and then it stops, and then it goes. So you also have to know when to stop. What is the completion of this, again, cycle that we're talking about? That's one of the big issues with cause and effect.
Okay.
What is causing it? How is it causing it? And that's where people, I think, lose it. In the how, not what. Well, my intention is causing it. Right, but how is it going to do it? We talked about the people that think, they put their intention is they wanted money. They want money. They want money. They want money. And then one of their parents dies. Or both of their parents die, and they get an inheritance. Well, that was the effect. Okay. The problem is, nothing wrong with the intention. The effect wasn't what they wanted because they didn't figure out how the cause was going to work. And you have to figure out how the cause is going to work, or else it won't, which is the issue. And it's something that most people, again, don't think about. Okay. They don't think about the fact that there needs to be a design. It needs to be developed. Okay. What needs to be developed needs to grow. And then at the end it needs to be harvested, essentially. So for that you look at the cycle of the seasons and how the seasons work. Growth cycles of the astrological wheel. Okay. Now, we also talked about unintended consequences. Well, unintended consequences you can see in a chart through aspects. Because in your mind you can go, okay, in order to make this work, I want this particular energy going through this planet, this particular energy going through that planet, in this house and in that house. All that's going to be great, all that's going to work, and all of a sudden you go, wait a minute. There's an aspect I didn't count on here. This isn't going to present right because I've got a square to my ascendant. So the whole presentation of this is going to be off. How it presents itself. That's not good.
Right.
On a chart, you can look at it and see. That's why a lot of the times when I'm talking about things, it's like if you want to manifest something, you need to create an entire chart. So that you can actually look at it and go, oh, oops. That's not what I intended. Okay. Because I was only focused on this part and forgot about that part. I didn't even think about how that could affect that. Or there's a semi-square to something. Or, it could be anything. It could even be a trine to something. It doesn't have to be what they call one of the negative aspects. It could be a positive aspect. And there really aren't any negative or positive aspects. There are negative and positive attributes of every aspect. So, again, that's the how. How do I want to do this? You may even want to build some of those in. You may want a square. If you're manifesting, let's say, we'll take your nephew. Let's say your nephew having a hard time in school. Right? And you find out about it. You're like, well, I want to do something to help him. Okay? And you're like, all right, I'm going to do a manifestation to help him, a prayer to help him, however you want to put it. And what this is going to do is I want to trine it so that this energy just comes through unbelievably easy for him. You can just do it. And then you put that energy out there. And the next thing you know, his grades aren't getting better. It's like, what's the matter? You having a hard time with? No, it's really easy. I just get bored now. I'm bored with it. It's like, oops, not what you intended, right?
Right.
Okay, the effect's there, but it's not what you intended. Because now the kid's bored and he's not doing it. And it could be that he was bored in the first place, and you just magnified that characteristic. Okay. Otherwise, you can put it into like a semi-square, where you need to do a little bit of something to help break it free. And then the energy comes. You can put it in a square where there's an actual challenge. You can do this, but you have to study and learn it. And what I'm doing will help you to the point where you can comprehend it as you're studying. But it's not just going to come to you. You have to break through this in order to get it. So they have to do something to achieve the result that they want. The effect is going to be right.
Okay.
So it's going to help them in some way. And a lot of people will be like, well, I don't want to put a square in there because squares are challenges. They're bad aspects. There is no bad aspect. They're powerful. They're learning tools, is what they are. You have to actually do something, and what the square does is it bothers you so bad, or whoever you're doing it for, that it makes them get off their butt and do something about it. And break through it. And then they're like, oh, okay, this is what studying does.
Right.
Okay. Now there are other people that they're having a hard time comprehending it. They study and they study and they study, and it's just not coming through. That one they may need some trying energy to come through, because they're already dealing with the challenge. They're not getting the effect. Problem there is, you have to know which one you're dealing with in that particular situation in order to know the cause and effect that you want.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So, what's the payoff? How's it going to work? Every cause, again, has an effect. You put energy into this, something's going to happen. You can't just shove energy into something and have no effect. It's not going to work that way. Something's going to affect something else, and it can affect a whole lot of things at the same time. So you have to really be, what's the word I'm looking for here? Detailed, I guess.
Okay,
and research oriented. So Virgo energy, when you're in the process of designing it and developing it and figuring out, okay, if I do it this way, this will happen. Is that what I want? Or do I want it to happen in a different way? How do I want this thing to work? What does it have to do? So it's not just a, energy result. Here we go. We're good. It's all good. Everything's going to be great. Well, no, not really. It's not going to be great.
Right, and that's a lot that I've come across really in the manifestation area, scrolling online and stuff like that.
Right.
Is a lot of it is, put the energy out there, keep your intention high, keep your vibration high, and you'll get what you want.
Right. But we also know that, especially when talking about vibration, especially with colors, not all of those are high vibrations.
Right.
Some of the colors are lower.
Mm-hmm.
So you may not always want a high vibration. Not to mention the fact that, is it feasible?
Right.
What you're trying to manifest. Is it even realistic? Is it feasible? Can you do it?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Let's say you're Kevin Hart. Okay? And you're trying to manifest that you want to be a professional NBA player. That isn't going to happen because you're 5'2".
Right.
It's not realistic to think that way.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that he can't play basketball. He just can't do it professionally.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference. So that's another problem that people have. Completely unrealistic expectations. They don't know how they're going to do it. I want to win the lottery. I want to win the lottery, and you never buy a ticket. How can you possibly win the lottery if you never buy a ticket for it?
Right.
Again, it's an impossible situation.
Mm-hmm.
Which lottery? For what? Is it the fact that you just want a ton of money? And like we've talked about this before, usually it's not. Usually we want a better life in some way. Well, how do you know money's going to be the thing that gives you that? You don't.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people who win those huge amounts of money and aren't prepared for it, it destroys their life.
Right.
A lot of them end up in divorce. A lot of them end up addicted to drugs. A lot of them end up isolating themselves because everybody is knocking on their door. Everybody's calling them. Everybody wants a piece of what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem with that is, if you are close to certain people, you have a hard time trusting anybody anymore. Is it because they want to be around me, or is it because I'm rich? And they think that if they hang around with me, they're going to benefit from it. That's the problem with not thinking things through. Okay. Yes, every cause will have an effect. Everything that you do is going to have a return. And we call it a threefold return, and it doesn't mean 3 times. It means back in a cardinal, fixed, immutable form in 3-dimensional reality. Okay. Cause and effect also breaks through the barriers. Cause and effect is also, you can look at it the same way you look at as above, so below.
Okay.
Okay. You do something here, it's going to affect 2-dimensional and 1-dimensional reality. Vice versa, the same thing. That's still cause and effect. It's just in a different way. So you have to think of things in those terms too.
Oh, so all of the different power cycles.
Well, sure. It's like, well, I want to do this, and I want to do that, and I want to do all of these things, and here's the cardinal, fixed, immutable aspect, and it's still not working the way that I want it to, and that's because 2-dimensionally you don't have that cycle working. Well, what? Hot, dry, dry, cold, cold, moist. Where's that cycle going? Just think about the seasons of the year. They can't work without both cycles working at the same time.
Right.
The 2-dimensional cycle that rule the actual season, spring being moist, hot, even though 3-dimensionally, spring breaks down into Aries, Taurus, and Gemini, cardinal, fixed, immutable. But it takes the entire thing to actually make the season work, because you can't have it without it. It won't work. So then you have to think, okay, if I change something down here, it's going to change the 2-dimensional cycle I'm in. How do I factor that in here?
Wow.
If I do things if I do it just on a 2-dimensional cycle, and I don't factor in the cardinal, fixed, and mutable, I could have cardinal, cardinal, mutable, and nothing's going to happen because the cycle doesn't work that way. Or it's going to throw in its own fixed, and I'll have no idea what that is.
Oof.
So it's going to grow out of my control. It's going to complete out of my control if the mutable's not there. It's going to initiate out of control if I don't factor that in. That's the issue. 1-dimensional cycles. It's got to have momentum and direction. It's got to have velocity. So it's so it has to have speed and precision. It has to have mass and volume. Okay, and it has to have firmness. Okay, strength and stamina breakdowns. So there's your 2-dimensional for 3-dimensional reality to work. You have to factor that in also. Because if you don't factor that in, there's no movement.
Right.
Because 1-dimensional reality is heat. That's what gives movement to anything.
Right.
Your cycle can't initiate, it can't grow, and it can't complete because you didn't build movement into the thing. And then if you did, you have no idea how it's going to grow. Again, 1-dimensionally. Momentum and direction. Is it going in the right? Is it going to the right place? How quickly? How much power did I just plug into this thing? Okay. How fast is it going? Okay. How precise is it? Or is it going all over the place?
Right.
What's the density of this thing? What's the mass? What's the volume? How do I know if it's contained in anything at all? Okay. And then again, where's the strength and stamina? How strong is this energy going to be when it releases and it completes? And how long will it last? And that's just 1-dimensional. Then you go into the power cycles, and you have to build that. Then you have to go into the 3-dimensional cycles and build that, or reverse. Some people start with the 3, then they go to the 2, then they go to the 1. To figure it out, it's like, well, this is what I want in the 3. How do I get that from the 2? And then how do I get that 2 and 3 from the 1? That's what you need to factor in. How is that going to work? What is that going to do? How do I build this? People out there, I want to be rich. Well, geez, that's pretty broad. My intention is to be rich, and that's what I want. Okay, through work, through an accident. You lose your leg, and you sue somebody, and you've got a ton of money, and you don't have a leg. Probably not what you want, for the most part. I don't think most people would want that.
Well,
right?
I think it also you got to have your definition set too. Like, what does it mean to be rich?
Right. Rich in what? Spirit? Rich with money. Most people think material rich.
Right.
You know, I want all this material stuff, and it's like, why? I want a garage like Jay Leno, and I want to have 100 cars or 150 cars in there. For what? You can't drive them all.
Right.
All you can do is show them off to other people.
Yeah.
Make you feel better, I guess. What's the actual point of having all those cars?
Right.
That's essentially somebody that has too much money
Mm-hmm.
and needs to spend it on something. I mean, I'm glad he's buying them because it's putting money back into in the economy.
Right.
You know, things of that nature.
Yeah.
You know, I want a ton of money. Okay, now you have to spend it because you have to put it back in the economy. Do you really want to spend 75 to 80% of your time spending money?
Right.
Right? What are you going to do? What are you going to spend it on?
Mm-hmm.
You know, well, I want my kids to be well off and happy and blah, 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 blah. Okay, what do your kids want to do? What does that mean for them? You can't just say, I want my kids to... Do you even know what's going to make them happy?
Right.
For some people, it's having a big family. Okay. Other people, that's community involvement. For some people, it's making money. For some people, that's what does it for them. They like to make money, and it's like, okay, but you can't actually make money unless you work at a printing press, right?
Right.
You can't make money. Okay, and money is actually just paper, and even nowadays, it's not even that.
Right.
They're just numbers on a computer screen in a bank somewhere. That's really all they are.
And,
that's all it is.
And really, when you think about it, it really is just energy. It's an energy transfer. Because you got to put it back into the economy. That's how things keep rolling.
Right, but a lot of people don't. Some of the richest people in the world don't spend on it. They're not out there spending it all.
Mm.
You know, I mean, at least Batman always had to get more gadgets and more things. He had to keep buying stuff to keep doing what he was doing.
Right.
And I mean, just look what he did with his money. He got bruised every night. He almost died countless times.
Oh yeah.
For what? Wasn't because not to be rich. Okay, but that essentially for that character made him happy.
Right.
You know, Superman could have smashed into any bank, Fort Knox, took anything he wanted. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but that's not what made that character happy.
Right.
Right?
Yeah,
it was doing good. It was being good. It was doing good. He had integrity. He had all of these things. For somebody who didn't ever have to really worry about it because he could do and take whatever he wanted, he lived a pretty meager life.
Mm-hmm.
Financially. Met his needs, did all those things, but that was about it.
Right, absolutely. Yeah.
So again, cause and effect. You put energy into something, that's the cause. What effect do you plan to make with it? What do you want to do with it?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You know, do you want to build something? Do you want to educate someone or a bunch of people? Do you want to change the world, essentially? I guess you think of that in a political way. What is it that you need? What is it that you want? Before you start freaking out and going, oh, I can do all these things. Big deal. If you don't know what you want to do, it doesn't matter whether you can.
Right.
That's why most people spend their lives not doing much. And I was thinking, hey, if I just had this, everything would be better. You have all these people out there wanting to win the lottery because it's going to make everything better, but they don't have a plan for it.
Mm.
If you have a plan for it, sure, you can win the lottery. And understand, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. This is how it's actually going to change my life in a good way. This is how it's going to change my life in a bad way. Am I ready for that? Either way.
Mm.
Some people are terrified of success. Some people are terrified of anger or failure. Most people are terrified of both. They have a terrified outlook on success and failure at the same time.
Right.
Which keeps them kind of stagnant and not doing a whole lot. It takes courage to go either way, because you never know which one's going to happen.
Right, right.
You can either succeed or you can fail. And most very successful people will tell you you're going to fail more than you succeed in life. It just happens that way.
Mm.
It's how you deal with the failures that work. Okay? And it's also how you deal with the success. A lot of people that come into wealth when they're older are horrible to other people. They act horrible to other people because they weren't raised with it. It's not normal for them. They don't know how to act anymore. Well, now that I have money, I'm better than everyone. And it's like, no, that doesn't make you better than anyone. To have money and to do good things with it, that's something. To be poor and do good things is the same something than the rich person has.
Right, right.
Okay. The difference being is that the rich person can do things financially for people now, where the poor person is generally teaching them something, or showing them something, or bringing them into awareness, or an awakening of some sort.
Right.
Some of the most influential people in history were poor.
Oh, absolutely.
I think the most popular, one of the most popular beings in history is Jesus Christ.
Absolutely, yeah.
Poor.
Oh, yeah.
Poor, dirt poor. Hung out with other dirt poor people. Okay? And his effect really wasn't felt until after he was gone, for the most part. His cause was moving, okay, but even his cause went, ooh. In order to get the effect that you want, your cause is going to cost you. And you have to be okay with it.
And it did, yeah.
And he was okay with it. But that's one of the most influential people in history. Whether you believe he was divinity or not. Most people die at 5-10 years after they're dead. There's only a handful of people that remember him.
Right.
That one's been gone for thousands of years, and everybody still knows the name. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, things of that nature. You can even think Muhammad. You can think
Muhammad,
all
Buddha,
these people.
Any of the huge debate gurus. Yeah.
Well, Hercules, or Heracles is how the Greeks actually pronounce it, but what a horrible life that was. I mean...
Oh, yeah.
Here's this, we think he's great. Yeah, Hercules, I want to be Hercules. You don't want to be Hercules. He killed his entire family.
Cursed with madness.
Yeah.
So that he killed his whole family.
Yeah, which is why he had to do all the 12 labors.
Right. To try to make up for it.
Yes. To make up for it. And yes, those things were heroic, but what a cause to get to that effect.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, who would have done that? Even being that strong and that powerful, would you have done it without having to have done it?
No.
Not knowing you could do it? Probably not. I mean, so it's things of that nature that we're talking about with cause and effect. And again, most people don't put enough effort into it or energy into it. Okay? And it is one of the Hermetic laws. Okay? Or principles, however you want to look at those.
Right.
Okay?
Well,
and you have to take it into consideration with everything else whenever you do anything. And that's the thing about the Hermetic principles. It takes all of them to do anything.
They all work in conjunction.
Yes.
That's
the issue. You can't just think of one.
Right.
But that's where a lot of books go. Oh, just focus on as above, so below. No. You can't just focus on that. You have to focus on all of them. What's the rhythm? Right? What's the vibration? And then what's the rhythm? And then what's the cause and effect? Right? And where are the gender breakdowns? Physical gender and mental gender. Where are those breakdowns? How are they divided? What does that even mean? And most people have no clue. How is the all involved? What about the soul of the world? What about the spirit, or the soul of the universe? What about the spirit of the universe? What about the nous? What about the logos? How does that all work together? Okay? Where do the elements all fit in? And the principles cover all of those things in different ways, right?
Right.
Okay. So, all of those things have to be taken into consideration in order to do anything. And it's understanding that and being able to comprehend it that allows you to do things.
Mm.
My effect is teaching. Truth.
Right.
This truth, spiritual truth. And learning myself.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Because I'm learning new things all the time. And I'm going to for the rest of my existence. I'm going to be learning things, and I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? And for me, getting to a point where I know everything doesn't exist. And that's another problem with others. What do you want? I want to know everything. You can't. So your effect can't happen. You can't know everything. It's not going to work. You'll never be there. Okay? How about you just learn this first?
Mm.
And then do a cause, and then work the principles on a little thing, and then build. Instead of, I want to do this. Well, that would be great, but, you're not just going to be able to go, I am going to do this. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
So, again, unbelievably important. Cause and effect is important. Okay? Everything that you do is going to have an effect. It's going to be an equal effect. Okay? Any energy you put out there, okay, you're causing something to happen, and you're going to have an equal reaction come back, or end to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the point.
Right.
Okay. If you send out a bunch of negative energy, you're going to get a bunch of negative energy to you. Are you going to get some positive energy? Sure. Opposites can attract. Right?
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
can.
Absolutely.
Okay. The problem is that you're going to get a lot of negative energy back.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is what you're putting out. Okay. And it may not all come back to you. It can come back to a lot of different people.
Okay.
Okay. But it's going to come back on you at some point.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the principle states. That's what the law states. Okay. Now, having done with my little spiel, let's go into Newton.
So this has an interesting corollary into delving into physics and the physical reality.
Right.
The biggest would be Newton's third law of motion, if I could speak.
Yeah. That's okay.
The third law of motion simply states that for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction.
Right. Okay, so now we're getting into the opposite.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, that is cause and effect.
Yeah.
What you put out comes back.
Right.
And it's responsible for common forces that we know.
Mm-hmm.
That we experience in everyday life. Gravity that holds you on the ground.
Right.
That force of gravity that's pulling you towards the center of the earth also creates what's called the normal force.
Right.
And that is the force that the ground is pushing on you to keep you from falling through the ground.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
Elasticity.
The more you stretch it out, it's gonna constrict back. Yeah.
Well, and that with the elasticity, it's the more energy that you put into expanding it, the harder it's going to collapse back.
Right.
The more energy that it will release when it finally collapses back.
Right. Now, what about like magnetism and repulsion? I know those are opposite poles, but is it the same effect?
Again, it will be the same. It will be the same effect.
Right.
And you get to see it because it depends on. This kind of combines the idea of polarity with it, the principle of polarity with cause and effect, because opposite poles will attract.
Right.
With the same force.
Mm-hmm.
That the same poles will repel.
Right.
It's the exact same level of force for each one.
Right. But it works both ways.
But it works both ways.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, so everything works through it, essentially.
Everything absolutely works through it. There's common vernacular in the science community. This is known as causality.
Right.
Now, causality is simply cause and effect.
Yeah.
What we have been tremendously successful in explaining phenomena that we see happen.
Okay.
One thing that science is trying to catch up with is the underlying causes for the effects that we see.
Okay. Yeah.
But there is that principle in science that is this Hermetic principle itself that says that there has to be a cause.
Right. Now, before we get too far into this, I want to bring this up before we forget to do it.
Mm.
This is Newton's law. This is not Einstein.
Right, absolutely.
This is not relativity. I see so many people that combine those two together and they're not the same.
Right, and a lot of
they'll go cause and effect, and then they'll do E equals MC squared, and it's like, no.
A lot of the equivalence with that comes from the fact that when Newton published his paper, the Principia Mathematica,
right,
he started with his laws of motion and then went into his law of gravity, all in the same paper.
Right.
Okay. Einstein wrote two separate papers 10 years apart. We get E equals MC squared from the first one, his special theory of relativity.
Right.
His general theory of relativity is where he described gravity.
Okay.
So that correlation doesn't really fit anyway. And E equals MC squared just speaks to the relationship between energy and mass.
Right.
That is all that is. That is not a cause or effect or anything. It's not related to anything. It's a mathematical way for us to know how much energy can be stored in a certain amount of physical material.
Right. Which is important too.
It is
completely off the topic.
It is absolutely important,
right.
But it's like you said, it's completely off
the
topic.
Yeah, that's another discussion. But no, I wanted to bring that up because so many people make that mistake.
They try to, and I think that comes back from the second law of motion, which can be written as an equation.
Okay.
Newton's second law of motion is the acceleration of an object is directly proportional to the net force exerted on it,
right,
and inversely proportional to its mass.
Right.
So the more mass that an object has, the slower it's going to accelerate.
Right, and the more force it needs to move it.
Right.
Yes.
Or if you increase the force that is exerted on it, the faster it's going to accelerate.
Yes. Right.
So that's all that says.
Right, and that can go all the way back to one-dimensional reality.
Yeah.
Momentum and direction.
Right. Absolutely.
How much? Then velocity. How fast?
Right.
Okay, and exactly where are we going?
Right.
With this thing, and then your mass,
and again,
density.
Your density,
mass
and then that's the the heat, the motion, the energy that you put in.
Right. And then firmness would come in because is it a solid object or is it more like is it permeable?
Right.
Can it go through things or is it just going to smash into things?
Right.
Because if it can go through it, that can slow it down. But if it slams into it, it's going to change direction. It's going to change momentum. It's going to change everything into it and possibly break it apart.
Right.
Into more different things.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to again get that out there because it's not Einstein stuff.
Right.
It isn't. But cause and effect is real. It does work.
It is very real.
And
we're
it is
just
Newton's
now
third law.
We're just now beginning to notice that it is probably the most persistent of the non-local forces that we know.
All right, I know what that means.
Now to explain that, locality in science is the idea that objects can only be affected by other objects in its immediate vicinity.
Right.
Non-locality says that you can have an effect on something that's not necessarily near you.
Right.
Everyone likes to jump on the quantum entanglement train at this point. You don't really need that. Any time that you've said a prayer, any time that you've done any kind of energy work, anything to manifest, to invoke a certain result, you're doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And it's completely non-local because you're traveling through the different dimensions, you're traveling through the different worlds that we work with.
Right, different planes, all
different
of that.
Planes, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah.
So, yeah, like I said, it's the most persistent.
So it's like it's working through ether, essentially.
Absolutely.
And working through absence.
It'll be the one thing that has that spiritual dimension entirely wrapped up inside it.
Well, yeah, and again, absence is the same.
Right.
No matter where it is.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one thing that makes it unique. Because absence is absence. It doesn't matter where it is.
Right.
It's absence. It can either take up space or it can't.
Right. And it doesn't.
But it's still absence.
And it doesn't really know the difference.
No. We have there has to be intent.
Right.
If you put it behind a number like 5, it makes 550.
Mm-hmm.
If you put it in front of it, 5 is 5.
Right.
It doesn't take up any space. Okay. We're the ones that decide how much space it takes up, and that can be taken away.
Right. And that goes back to intention. That's and the definition, the meaning that you give to something.
Right.
Because everything is based off of definitions.
It is, but and the thing with absence though is absence doesn't need motion.
No.
Everything else in the universe, our universe, essentially does.
Oh, it's certainly in three-dimensional reality, but you have to. I mean, you go back to any of the creation stories.
Well, just about any of the cycles. All the cycles need it.
Right. All
two-dimensional cycles, one-dimensional cycles. It all needs movement.
Right.
However, especially in three-dimensional reality, when we talk about mutable, which is 1/3 of all the energy in the universe, is absence.
Right.
They're neutrons. It's absence that take up space inside of a nucleus. But it's still absence. It's the only thing that doesn't need movement.
Right.
And actually what it does is it quells the movement in protons. That absence just separates it.
Right, yeah.
Gives it a division. But it's not really there. Because it's absence of charge.
It's wild to think about, but I mean, you can go back to, like I started to say, all of your creation stories. And what was there before the universe was created was absence.
It was absence, right. And from absence came, well, if you're talking biblically, the Word.
Right.
Okay. Light wasn't the first thing created. The Word was. Let there be light.
And God said, yeah.
Right. So air traveled through the absence, which is interesting.
Right.
Because it didn't just a little spark and then it went, light went, and it was just there.
Right.
Everywhere.
And it was everywhere all at once.
Yeah.
And
because it went through absence.
If you see that even in modern cosmological theories about how the universe began, like the Big Bang. Scientists will say, for the initial given amount of time, it was so hot and so dense. The energy was so hot and so dense that light couldn't travel through it. Nothing existed because it was just too hot and too dense. And then all of a sudden, and there was light everywhere.
Right. Yeah. No, yeah, I get you on that, yeah.
So, we get the same story from science that our cultures have been telling for eons at this point.
Right, but we even get it metaphysically. We get it
Right, absolutely.
through the aura.
Yeah.
The
Oh
auric
yeah.
field
Oh yeah, absolutely.
does the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's there because of your chakras.
Right.
It's not continually projecting. That's not how it works. It's there. It's always there. You can expand it, you can contract it, but it's always there.
Right. Right.
You may not be able to feel it, but it's always there.
But
So,
then again, it's that
what
idea.
was- yeah, but then-
Idea of absence and intent because.
Well, right. But the thing is, though, what is the heat that travels through absence? It's Sagittarius.
Mhm.
Okay. What's the aura? It's Sagittarius.
It is.
Right?
It is
It's spiritual expression.
Jupiter, that's the expansion through your crown chakra.
Right. But the energy is Sagittarius. It's
It is.
fire that flows through absence. It's
Mhm.
heat that flows through absence. Okay. And I think most people lose that or never thought about that. But that's what it is. It's
Right.
Sag is the one that does it. Air does it. Water does it. Earth does it. All the mutables do it. That's what they are.
Right. Right.
You know, so firmness does. That's the takes up space part.
Right.
Right? Yeah, it's ridiculous when you look at it that way. Okay. And what permeates through everything? Well, what permeates through everything are the two mediums, air and water.
Right.
They permeate through everything. Okay. Water saturates everything and dissolves everything.
Mhm.
I mean, it's ridiculous, but that's what you're working with when you're working with absence. It's there. You know it from the principles of astrology
Mhm.
and those laws, but that's what it is. Okay, and that's how it works in physics.
Right. Right.
Okay, it's the stuff that they can't explain, but they can explain it because astrology explains it. They just don't like the explanation. I think is where we go with that. However, I think that's enough for this one.
I do. We definitely had
I think we're
a fun discussion. so.
yes, I think we did, and hopefully that came about and everybody got it.
Yeah. Hopefully we explained everything sufficiently well.
Yes. If not, look up Newton's third law.
And feel free to write us in the comments or email us. Any
I love
questions you
comments.
have,
We don't get a lot of them, or we haven't yet. I don't want to say we don't get a lot of them. That's not a good intention, is it? Wow, that's not a good cause. The effect's going to be bad for that. No, I would love to get more comments.
Yeah, certainly submit your feedback.
Whether it's questions or whether it's different opinions. I don't have a problem with that. So,
Absolutely not. We love to have a good discussion.
yes,
And,
please comment.
And if there's a differing opinion or viewpoint,
Right.
we are very open to discussing new ideas that,
Yes.
that come to us.
Yes, exactly.
We're always learning something new.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So,
definitely. Yep.
all right. Well, thank you for joining us today. Do remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.